Okay, people, the time is now 10:48 Eastern Standard Time. This is my last video for December 18th, 2016. So I'm going to put this up tonight, and I got other videos that I should be to put up, so I'm probably putting them up tonight or tomorrow or whatever. But this is the third video of the day, and it will be the last video of the day. And I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes, because you know YouTube has a cutoff spot. So let's keep it short and simple. After I get all my videos up, I want to try like old James versus new James. All right, and with that, you know, it's kind of like when you see like the superhero fight things. I'm not gonna like put my fights together, like mish them or mush them or whatever the fuck you call that crap. But I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna put like the stuff on there. And since I can no longer do anything about what my situation is now, basically it's just present, not happening. But you know, since I can't even lift my legs anymore, you know, I can lift them, but I can't do any kung fu. I haven't really tried because the doctor said don't do that. So, you know, I will say that this is probably the worst I've been in my life. I've had really, I've had like really bad, but 2015 has been the worst year ever. I've lost my father when I needed him the most. I have a new hip and I have to adjust to not being able to walk right, run right, do any heavy lifting. Hell, I had to shower with a fucking chair for like months. You know what I mean? I mean, like, it never seemed to end. I have had therapists, and just like when I had therapists for my thumb, they went from really hot chicks to a not so hot MILF. You know, more like a grandma. Not much like a MILF, but, you know, good lady. You know, help me on my feet. I've lost more things in 2015 than I can count on my hands and toes. You know, people are like, well, oh, you're going to throw a pity party. No, no, not going to throw a pity party. Let me tell you one thing about pity parties. They don't generally work out the way the person who needs them wants them to work out. Just want people to know that I have gone through some shit. Fuck a pity party. I have gone through some shit. I'm still fucking suffering. I have not grieved for my father. My two younger brothers, his other children, have barely made contact with me. I'm sure when they see this, oh, my phone will probably start ringing then. But they have their own kids. You know, they have their own life. They have shit that they need to get done. And me personally, I'm in fucking hell right now. You know, I'm still trying to finish off the graphic novel. I finished the final fight scene with Inchu and Koa. So that's done. Now I have to figure out how to end the book. You know, what do I need to add? What do I need to take away? What can I do to make it so that when people read it, they'll be like, damn, it's totally going the way we wanted to go. Now, truth be told, I'm a sucker for a happy ending. Now, let's just get that out of the way. I'm a sucker for a happy ending because my life has been so fucking miserable. Now, I want to say something that my good friend Josh, it's always in all my films, has told me. And it's starting to really weigh in to be actual truth. He says sometimes the good guys finish last. And I'm starting to believe him because I'm a fairly decent person. I got a foul mouth. Excuse me. I own all the bad that I've done and all the good I've done. I hope that my good outweighs my bad, you know. But, you know, I will say this as for making a statement, you know, if any of my videos haven't made a statement, I hope they impact someone's lives in a good fashion. I hope that if someone who's like me, who's multicultural, who wants a hero, looks at my videos or reads my graphic novel, say, I get you. I got what you're going to do. I feel you. I enjoy it. I love it. And more importantly, thank you for giving us a hero of mixed ethnicity and not just some flash in the pan type of guy. All my stories are not the same. Only thing that's the same is the ethnicity of the hero, who is always like me, Native American, black and white. So that means my philosophy is really simple because I really love Joan Chen and Vivian Wu. Too bad for them, both of them are married, and I'm single and I live in Virginia, and they live in wherever the hell they live at. but they are great actresses. But if two Chinese people can play Native American, why can't a half-breed Native American play a half-breed Chinese guy? So therefore, my characters are either half Native American or half Asian, but there's always half black. I'm proud of my heritages most of the time until somebody black or Asian or white goes off and does something incredibly fucking stupid. Which generally, since I've ranted on that, we're not going to go there. My struggle from the moment I came out of McGuire Hospital has been no less trying than anybody else. Um, not making mad money from the military. I'm only at 20%, so clearly there's got to be some hope in there somewhere. I clearly need a new right hip. I just don't know when I'm going to need the new right hip. And they don't know when I'm going to need the new right hip. They gave me a year for the left hip to integrate. I haven't tried testing it out because even now when I walk, I'm still in pain. So fear kind of makes me like, do I want to? I can walk faster, but I'm too scared to attempt to run without doctor's consent because I'm like, if this thing snaps while I'm running, I'm fucked, So I don't want to do that. And I can't have a doctor on staff to follow me everywhere I go because, like I said, the military's got me at 20%. No. Now, if they would have caught this before I had got discharged, it probably wouldn't have been an issue. And I probably would have got the full medical discharge. But like a dummy, integrity here decided, well, I'm only hurt. I'm not fucked up. I was wrong. I'm not a doctor. I was fucked up. I wasn't hurt. I was fucked up. It took them 3 years to catch it, which means when they put me through therapy, only thing I was doing, according to the specialist, was making it worse. I didn't know. I'm not the doctor. I do what the doctor says. The doctor says squeeze the ball with your knees, you squeeze the ball with your knees. So the whole time I'm doing the therapy, I'm fucking up the hip even more because it was never the knee, it was the hip. Yay. Anyway, moving on so I can hurry this up. My dad was a very good man, but everybody's dad is a good man to them. My dad will be the first to tell you he's no saint. He's gone, but he's no saint. But he's always tried to make me better than him, and always pushing me to do the right thing. And I respect that. And we've never really had bad moments. Every parent and child have their moments, and we had our moments. But we had an abortion issue. Where he's pro-life and I'm pro-choice. And the thing with that is that I can still hear him until I convinced him. You know, I changed his mind. And the only reason I changed his mind is because my values of pro-life is different than everyone else's. And since I'm talking about my dad, if there's a tear or anything runs out my eye, forgive me. My dad and I, we got into this big heated argument about fucking abortion. You know, say it just like I said of him, clear as day. We got into an argument about abortion. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. We got into this big ass argument. And my dad was like, Jimmy, every time you have an abortion, you kill a life of what could be someone who could have saved the world on some level or another. And he's half right on that. But what he wasn't taking into consideration, how did the girl get pregnant? If the girl is using abortion as birth control, I'm not down with that. But if the young girl is a victim of rape or incest, and a lot of things are forced upon you young women that men don't get and don't understand, which then I'm for pro-life. Because I told him, I said, Dad, if I was your daughter and I got raped and you made me keep that baby, I wouldn't speak to you for the rest of my life. I wouldn't. Because it's a living reminder of what wasn't supposed to happen to me. And I have to live with that because you made that choice for me. It's not fair. The woman has the right to choose. So eventually, he slept on it. He thought about that shit, because he has one daughter, only one daughter. And by the grace of God, as far as I know, my older sister hasn't been raped or anything. But after he thought about that shit for a hot minute, I mean, it took him some mad thinking to get on board with me. Because I was like, no, Dad, I'm not saying abortion is correct. by any means necessary. I'm not supporting that shit like completely, but in certain situations, it needs to be addressed. In certain situations, you shouldn't force someone to keep a baby that wasn't meant to be there. You know, the woman should have the right to choose how it goes. And then, it's the same thing with, well, what if she want the baby and you don't? I said, well, that's what they make condoms for. You know, simple as that. You don't want a baby, and if for you it's a one night stand, and for her it's all love. Well, then y'all should probably have talked that shit out before she lets you stick it in. And that's about as real as I can get on that. But my dad, I mean, it took mad, mad thinking on his part. It probably took him about a month or two to see where I was coming from, because we argued about that shit for a long time. And I mean, a really, really, really long time. And I told him, I was like, well, you and I are both men. So we won't know what that feels like unless we're very unlucky and go to prison, and then, well, men can't get pregnant. So you can still get ass raped, but you can't get pregnant that we know of. But, it's the principle of the thing. You know, how would you feel if you was that girl that had that baby, somebody who just took your shit? You didn't consent to it. It's like, oh, this bitch is mine. I'm gonna take her ass. And after he really thought about it, it's like, Jimmy, you're right. Because he wouldn't want that to happen to him. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. I sure as hell wouldn't want it to happen to a kid of mine, son or daughter. You know what I mean? And so it didn't take long, but it took long enough for him to understand it. He's like, yeah, I really probably should have thought that through. So after he thought it through, we were on the same page. Me and my dad got on the same page a lot before he passed, and I'm trying not to make this too long. And a lot of the things we probably still would have disagreed on if he was still alive right now. And the thing with my dad is that he's never made me feel less than a person, where most of the people in my life have made me feel less than a person. There are people in your life that will make you feel like your life really isn't worth living. And I've gone through that for most of my life. There have been people who've made me wish that I was dead. You know, most of that shit started from grade school to high school, and even sometimes in college. And as I've gotten older, there have been events in my life where people have done stuff that have made me wish that I wasn't alive. But no one ever really wants to address these things, because most of the people that have done that are in the in crowd. And if you've never been in the in crowd, then you don't know what it's like to be at the bottom of the barrel and have everyone basically shun you. You know, like I said in my other videos, I've been through some shit. You know, as a young boy, being multicultural, being ashamed for my mom to come to school because her color and my color don't match, and I'm brown until you get right here where I'm high yellow, and my mom is like completely white, not like biologically, but, well, I guess you could say biologically. There's white in our family down through the centuries, or whatever. But if you've ever been ostracized for anything, it sticks with you. I talked to a guy yesterday at my job, um, and this is still on subject about me and my dad. Because my dad has always been my rock, shoulder crown, whatever. Um, Guy at work, he's like, well, because he was multicultural too, and I said, well, the thing is, I wasn't sure at first, because I'm usually spot on when I pick somebody out that's mixed, you know. And he was like, well, he been through it too, but he's in a wheelchair, so yeah, it's probably a little bit worse. But I told him, I said, depending on how many ethnic diversities you have within you, if you have more than one, it's just as big of a problem as if you only have two. Like if you're just black and white, yeah, you're just black and white. But I'm three. It took me a long time to learn that I was three. And then the worst part of that is, like, you know, kids, my God, man, kids are cruel. They wouldn't be cruel if we didn't teach them to be cruel. Because kids are colorblind to an extent. Then after they get to a certain age, you can always tell how kids raised at home by the time they hit 13, how many racial incidences they have started or finished. For me, I was always the victim. I was always the half breed. I was always the mutt. So, I turned it into a positive. once I accepted my heritages, it wasn't a big fucking deal until like certain events. So when I talked to my dad, he's like, "Well, Jimmy, first off, the human genome, we all tend to do this, no matter what color you are, no matter what your ethnic background is. We all tend to do this. We all tend to zone in on something, and most of the time, the people who are bullied are the ones that pick it out of you, and they know once it gets on your nerve, that's where they zone in on it. It's like, I didn't like being called half-breed. I didn't like being a mutt. I didn't like being chief. And they rode that train. They rode the hell out of that wagon train. And, up until high school and a couple of threats in school later, things were pretty bad. I could go into the bullying thing, but this is supposed to be about my dad. I did talk to my dad about me being bullied and the teachers that let the shit happen. You know, now my dad taught me a lot. Not like educational wise, but like knowledge in general can come from anywhere. But he taught me a lot, and how to survive adversity was one of the things he taught me. My father never had anything more than an 8th grade education, according to him. But to speak with his elegance, you wouldn't know that. You know, my father loved driving trucks, so he made it his living. He had been driving them from a young age, and once he found jobs, he had many jobs, but he loved driving truck. So his last job, he drove trucks. So thank you, Frank and Miss Cynthia Hougens, for giving my father the opportunity, and thank you guys for looking out for me and things like that. I also want to thank the Bennett Funeral Home for giving us an invite, and I just got so busy that the day went right past me, and I never got to call them and thank them or anything. So if anybody's on YouTube that knows the Bennett Funeral Home in Richmond, James Williams Jr. says, thank you for all that you've done for my father, and I'm sorry for that little moment where my mom had to drag me out of there. My dad and I were extremely close. And the thing about my dad, I can go on about my dad for hours and hours and hours. I didn't get to have my dad in my life except for in the summertime. And the one summer I didn't get to have him is when I had started Kung Fu and I got bit by a horse. Yeah. This finger and this finger. Every time I think or see a horse, they tingle. And this eye, every time I drive past Woodrow's, it tingles. And sometimes it might pop because of the incidences that I've had in my life. So I'm going to close this out before I start crying. My dad, his birthday is the last day of April. He didn't make it to his last birthday since he died in March in my car. It kills me every second of every day that I can't hear his voice and that I can't call him anymore. So I'm going to end this on a high note to all of you people who have your parents. And if your parents are great parents, thank God for your blessing that you have. No, I'm not saying you got to be perfect, but thank God for your blessings that you have. I miss my dad. And me and my mom aren't at the best of terms, but I love my mom. But I really, really miss my dad because he's all I really had in the world who understood me, he never judged me, and more importantly, he made me feel like I was worth living. And losing him, you know, my life has gone awfully bad since losing my dad. It's always been, just one day at a time, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second. None of it goes by without me fighting back tears, and you know, it's hell, man. It's hell when you don't have that one person that you can look at and they know, when you need to talk to them, they know. They're like, yeah, all right, come on, Jimmy, let's go for a drive. Let's get whatever's on your chest off your chest. And I can't say how much I miss my dad because there's no words. There's There's no fucking words that can describe how much your parent means to you until they're gone. I love my dad with my entire being. You know, he knows about the girl that I love. He knows about everything. You know, I lost my faith more than one occasion, and my dad, before he died, was struggling to help me get it back. And I don't think I'm ever going to get it back. No, I'm never gonna stop believing in God. But as far as my faith goes, I mean, that shit's gone, man. I do still pray. I have to. Excuse me. I have to pray because I feel that if I don't pray, my dad's in his box of ashes down here at my feet, swirling, and I can hear him now. Jimmy, better say your prayers before you go to bed tonight, son. So, in the words of my dad, every breath you take is a blessing. So take it and take it deep because it might be your last breath. But as we cross over into the afterlife, uh, you should know that you will have loved ones there that will be waiting for you with open arms. I've had so many bad issues since my dad is gone, and I fight them every day. So, henceforth, the graphic novel. The graphic novel has helped me tremendously with my issues. And no, I will close out with the one simple truth that I learned the hard way. There is no true cure to depression other than to not get depressed. I'm probably going to put a lot of psychiatrists out of work with that, but it is the truth. Because, you know, depression is a hell of a battle, man. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, and I pray that if you are as fucked up as I am, or as fucked up as I was before all this, that you try and seek help. So before I get out, I do want to thank Dr. Bishop for helping me months and months ago, especially once we found out about my hip, because that really hurt my dad. When we went to McGuire that time, and my dad, when we went from my stomach issue, and I just kept thinking I was having an ulcer, man, and it wasn't an ulcer. So my dad and I came out, and the doctor's like, I have some good news and some not so good news. So I had been playing Commander Shepard for quite some while. I said, well, just go on and give me the bad news and get the shit over with. And the funny thing about it, and this is my dad. I love my dad. My dad's like, Jimmy, that's not how you ask. I said, Dad, he has good news and bad news. Bad news, I have to accept. Good news, well, that's just water off a duck's back. Because if it's good news, then, it can't be so bad. But that bad news, oh, that bad news. There's nothing worse than bad news. So that doctor looks at us and says, well, Mr. Williams, and we're both looking, we're all cool and chill and everything. He goes, you need a new hip. And I'm sitting there with the dumb fuck look. And my dad's like, what do you mean my son needs a new hip? He came in here for stomach problems. Well, that's the good news. You don't have a bleeding ulcer. Your guts are good, son. You're in great shape down there. But the problem is, you need a new hip like yesterday. We need a surgery. You need to have it immediately, or your leg's going to be deformed within the next couple of months, and you need to stop whatever activities you're doing. You have to lighten your load at work. You have to do this. You have to do that. We have to give you therapy. You have an ass load of problems. And so that was like I want to say it was between September and October. It might have been, it had to be between October and November, actually. It had to be real close to Christmas because I had my surgery last year around this time. And my dad, when we got back outside to my little yellow machine, he was in tears. He was in straight up tears. I'm like, why are you crying? He's like, son, you're 40 years old. Well, I was 41 at the time. Or I was about to turn 42. No, I had already turned 42. Excuse me. That was a mistake. It's like, son, you're only 42 years old. I'm 60 something. and my hips are in better shape than yours. I said, well, Dad, you know it's military related. I never carried 300 pounds on my back. I'm only 5'3". When the hell would I need to carry 300 pounds? Oh, yeah, I joined the Army. Got infantry. 300 pounds every day, all day. Hey, it was worth it for me. Because if I didn't join the military, I probably would have committed suicide. So, now, coming home, that sucked. But finding out that I needed a new hip, that hurt my dad to the core, man. It's like he literally broke down. He cried that whole night. And I was like, well, Dad, you know I got to go to work Monday morning. So I spent that weekend with him. And I think we went to go see my Aunt Ruth Ann. I won't swear to it because, memories get jumbled sometimes. But I know that he called my Aunt Ruth or he told her when we got there. I can't really remember how that whole thing unfolded. But I love my Aunt Ruth. And the first thing she said was, damn, Jimmy, when you fuck up, you fuck up. So, yeah, that's true. When I fuck up, I totally fuck up. Sometimes when I fuck up, things blow up. But most of the times when I fuck up, I'm one of those kids that never asks for anything. But when something goes wrong, it's over the fucking top. No. And my dad, he, I think he called me every day after we found out that I, needed a new hip. When I got home Monday and went to work, I had to explain to my boss, I said, look, dude, I have to have surgery in December. So I need to know when do we close so that I can schedule the surgery. So we closed, I think we closed on the 18th of last year. And I tried to schedule it for the 18th, but they actually scheduled me a week early. And I was like, no, I told y'all this date so I could work my full month. And it's like, I'm sorry, you need that surgery. And the sooner you get it in, the sooner everything else will go right. So I had to tell my boss, this is when they scheduled me and this is what I had to do. He wasn't too thrilled about it, but hey, he didn't have to pay for the surgery. And that's why I can't go back to changing light bulbs and carrying ladders and shit because the doctor said I can't do anything that puts extra weight on my hip. Which is the worst part because I had just got like this brand new pair of badass either New Balance or Reebok shoes. I don't know what they are because I haven't worn them in a year. So not only can I have tie-up shoes, I cannot run, I cannot walk, I cannot do kung fu, which is the most important thing to me because that was my life, and it made my dad cry. That's about the only time I ever really seen my dad cry, outside of when his girlfriend passed. And basically, she was Kamala's wife. But, other than that, I never seen my dad cry until then. And it was like, and he had only lost her like a year and some change before that, which is about the same time my second father had passed. And it was kind of fucking crazy. But yeah, I've been through a lot in 2015. And I'm hoping like hell that 2016 gives me a whole new lease on life or something. But the end of my dad's life, our last conversation was about Snoop Dogg. And Snoop Dogg had just planned on doing a concert in Virginia. I don't remember. Yeah, but matter of fact, it was here in Charlottesville. And the night before his concert was the last night that I spoke to my dad. And I hadn't felt anything weird or anything, because I always thought that if my dad passed, I would feel it. But I didn't. It was completely unexpected. Never thought that my dad would die before I was able to give him a grandchild. And so, I was like, that night my dad died, the hospital called. And I knew when I got the call that it wasn't good, but I didn't know why. It's like, why is this lady calling me that I've never heard of? And she didn't really identify herself as a person at the hospital. She was like some kind of grievance control counselor or something. And she said, Mr. Williams, I need you to come to McGuire. Not McGuire. What the hell was he? I needed to go to a hospital in Richmond. I can't remember what the hospital is right now, but either way, I needed to go there. And I'm like, well, You want to tell me what this is about? Well, it's about your father. I was like, well, you want to tell me where my father is? And she's like, you just need to come to the hospital in Richmond and you need to come now. And I was like, look, if my father is dead, then you need to tell me. If my father is alive and there's hope, then you need to tell me so that I can break every speed limit in the universe to get there because I couldn't drive. I literally was physically unable to drive due to my surgery. So I was able to drive a little bit, but the fact that I was on drugs, I couldn't drive because once you take these pain pills, you can kiss your ass goodbye because you're going to sleep. And when you go to sleep, you're asleep. So that was probably like the last time I took my pain pills actually. And so my big sister had to drive me down there. And I sit there and I'm thinking all the way. It's like, if he's dead, why did I not feel it? So maybe he's alive. He's got to be alive. But they wouldn't tell us anything. And they wouldn't barely do anything. And then when we finally got there, and my stepsister came in, they wouldn't let her in because her color is different from our color. And it was a big clusterfuck of problems. So finally got in there. And I'm going to close this out. Finally got in there. And a little black preacher guy came in and said, Mr. Williams, you need to have a seat. And I said, no, you need to just go ahead and tell me, man, because I need to know now. And by any means necessary, I'm not the most machoest dude that I know. At least I don't think I am. And it really still hasn't really sunk in. It hit me. It hit me when we cremated him. But before that, it didn't hit me. Part 2 coming soon.